Hey guys, Adam here with AmericanMuscle.com. Today I'm bringing you a detailed overview and installation of the Vogtland Sport Spring Kit, fitting all convertible 94-04 GTs and 94-98 Cobras. I'll top the video off with the installation, which I'll let you know up front here gets a 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. The Vogtland Sport Spring Kit I have with me today will be for any 94-04 GT or 94-98 Cobra owner looking to lower the center of gravity for a better handling and suspension performance, but also a very aggressive ride stance and a more muscle car looking appearance. So the first thing I want to touch on right off the bat is how low exactly is it going to drop your car when adding the Vogtland Spring Kit? Well, it comes in at 1.6 inches for the front and 1.6 inches for the rear. Not the biggest drop in the world, but it is a little bit bigger than some of the other options out there. One of the other benefits is going to be the progressive spring rate. The progressive spring rate allows it to be a lot more street friendly while also being acceptable for the strip. If you're not too familiar with what progressive exactly means, well, progressive means the springs will react very normally under normal driving conditions, giving you a comfortable ride height while also reacting very differently in hard cornering situations or hard driving situations. Now, on the other hand, is going to be the standard, which some of the other options on the site will offer. Standard spring rate is linear, allowing the driver to accurately predict or more accurately predict how the springs will react in each situation because it will always stay the same. If you want to pick the Vogtland Spring Kit up for yourself, you can pay just north of the $200 mark. Not the biggest expense in the world, but of course, in my personal opinion, one of the better ride heights. Now, shifting gears over to the install process of the video. Now, like I said in the beginning, not the hardest job in the world, but it does require a little bit more know-how. Now, you can get the job done in about 2 hours or so. It does get a 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. And as far as tools, you want to have a simple ratchet and socket set on deck, as well as a pry bar to get out those old springs that might be rusted in there, and of course a jack and jack stands or a lift if you have one available. So kicking off this process, I found one of the easiest ways to be just jacking up the rear end and removing one of those wheels. Once it's up in the air, you're going to have to put a jack under the differential pumpkin or differential housing and jack that up to relieve the tension off of the bottom shock bolts. Remove those bottom shock bolts and then of course slowly, and I mean ever so slowly, lower down that differential in order to relieve the pressure off the spring. You don't want to do it too quick because the spring might just shoot out of there, and of course that can be extremely dangerous. So once you lower it down and you remove that factory spring, which might take a pry bar if it is rusted in there, you can swap it out with the Vogtland spring. Once the Vogtland's into place, redo that process in the opposite order and you're good to go for the rears. Now the front process is extremely similar, it only has one extra step in the process. Now what you're going to do is jack up the front of your car, remove one of the wheels of course, and instead of supporting a differential pumpkin, you're going to support the lower control arm. And once that lower control arm is supported and jacked up in the air, you're going to remove the sway bar end link bolt and then of course the bottom bolts on the strut tower. Once those bolts are out of place, you can slowly, and again slowly, lower that lower control arm down to relieve the tension off the front spring. Remove that front spring, swap it out for the Vogtland spring, and swap everything back in the reverse order. Repeat the process for the other side of the vehicle and you're good to go. Overall, about 2 hours worth of time in the driveway at home and a 2 out of 3 wrenches on our difficulty meter. Just to wrap things up here, if you're the owner of a convertible 94-04 GT or a 94-98 Cobra, you might be looking to pick up a set of lowering springs to give you a very, very aggressive muscle car stance while lowering the center of gravity to improve the handling and suspension performance. If that sounds like your case and you want a progressive spring rate, you might want to check out the Vogtland Sport Spring Kit, available right here at AmericanMuscle.com.